Hello everyone, in this video we're going to be exploring why Ripple's XRP may be one of the most anticipated coins going forward, at least in my view. I've already explained this a few times in the past. This is true not just from a fundamental standpoint, but also from a technical analysis perspective. Among the various methods to analyze the markets, I specialize in using what is known as the Elliott Wave Theory, which is a market analysis approach that suggests prices move in predictable patterns known as waves. It does a fantastic job of translating the market psychology and emotions of all market participants, and these waves follow what is known as a 5-wave pattern in the direction of the main trend and a 3-wave corrective pattern, which is eventually helping us identify a larger trend for price movements and reversals. So what you see here is shown for a bull market, which is denoted in a 5-wave pattern to the upside, or 5 waves rather, and the corrective 3-wave pattern is denoted as an ABC, which is typically known as the bear market. Now, in my opinion, as you all are pretty aware, we may be in the continuation for a bull market to the upside, especially with Bitcoin's current positioning within the markets. That's the big question on everyone's forehead. I believe Bitcoin is already in the works for a wave 5, and that's probably giving us clues that altcoins may also have a little bit more gas in the tank for a move to the upside. If you haven't watched my previous videos, I've already given my approach and narrative throughout the months to see where we're currently positioned for Bitcoin. So to put it simply, without diving too deeply into the theory, I believe that we are currently positioned in this wave 4 as well for altcoins. This means that we are missing one possible wave to the upside, which could be arguably the most violent wave to the upside with the strongest volume before we actually go for that bear market. Now, waves 2 and 4 are the only corrective patterns that follow an ABC structure. However, these can be interpreted in various ways using the predetermined rules and guidelines from the Elliott Wave Theory that could utilize different patterns as well. The depth and distribution is what's going to be giving us the actual kind of clues on what kind of pattern it may be developing into. Again, the depth and distribution of the correction can lead to all these different types of patterns as you see here, and it depends on the severity of the correction as well. So, for example, it could also form a WXY structure which utilizes multiple ABC patterns. It can also be creating triangles and flat patterns, which also create more of a balanced or range-bound idea. Now, each of these patterns and how we can identify them is a whole different topic in itself, since it is a theory after all, and you have to study it. Now, going back to the chart, as I have mentioned, I believe XRP is currently in a wave 4. Like I said, we were possibly currently positioned in this wave 4, and I've already done the heavy lifting by narrowing down the possibilities and eliminating less likely patterns. The one we are most likely in is possibly the triangle pattern. Now, what's very important about XRP, in my opinion, is that it has history. A lot of these coins, such as meme coins, they don't have much history, so it becomes a little bit more difficult to kind of identify what kind of pattern we may be in, especially if you're trying to figure out what part of the map we are in for an impulse wave if you're in a bull market. But that goes back to say, if you have history, and XRP, again, has one of the largest histories alongside of other dinosaur coins such as Cardano, Zeta, and also Bitcoin Cash and so forth, all dating back to 2014 or 2015. And it's about a 10-year time span for these altcoins as well. Now, if you look at it, we have a wave 1, 2 possibly established, and this wave 3 being the strongest. If you look at it on the map, wave 3s are usually the strongest, and those are typically what is known as wave 3s. And those are usually the easiest to identify. And when we have a wave 3 completing and you have a significant pullback, that's when you can start identifying what kind of pattern we may be in. And again, the depth and severity, and also the types of corrective patterns that kind of develop alongside with it. And here what we have is the triangle pattern. Now, we are fortunate that this pattern is even familiar even to those with basic technical analysis knowledge. It's a relatively simple pattern. However, the Elliott Wave Theory offers a deeper understanding of the pattern, and to put it simply, the triangle pattern consists of a series of 3 waves for each of the higher degree letters in the overall A, B, C, D, E structure. But just to keep it simple again, it's confined within a range of 5 subwaves, and that's why, hence, we have the A, B, C, D, E. That's about how much of a pattern that can be also maximized using the Elliott Wave Theory for this triangle pattern. And right now, we are pretty much at peak validation for what could be this triangle pattern, especially if we're working on the macro. And the Elliott Wave Theory does a fantastic job when you are working on the macro, most notably the daily time frame or even the weekly time frame. And then especially you have history along with it. the Elliott Wave Theory increasingly becomes far more predictable and more accurate. It's not 100% set in stone, as no theory is. It's still a theory after all. This pattern right now is just how I currently see the markets, and we're seeing a lot of the evidence being built up. And especially with Bitcoin now trying to break out, all of this is kind of coming into fruition, and we may be in the works for that move to the upside. Now, another most notable thing about the triangle pattern is this BD trend line here. As you can see, this BD trend line is the upper boundary of the triangle when you're in a bull market, especially when you're positioned in a wave 4, is that we have been retesting this triangle upper boundary, the triangle's upper boundary BD trend line for quite some time, ever since this D wave has been established. As you can see, this move here, we've been trying to break out of this triangle, upper boundary triangle rather, for quite some time, for the past few months or past year or two especially. So if we do actually break out of this, that's going to give us a pretty strong signal that buyers are going to step into the market, because they are also seeing this trend line as a very important resistance. And if that breaks and turns into support, then we know from a very basic technical analysis perspective, and when intertwining it with the Elliott Wave Theory, is going to be a continuation to the upside. So that's why it's very important to note, with all of the simple technical analysis combined and with the Elliott Wave Theory, if you're able to identify the patterns correctly and narrow it down, even though it's not perfect, it's still going to give you a higher probability. There's no certainties in this market, rather probabilities, but if you're able to increase your probabilities, you're most likely in a well-positioned spot to kind of take more conviction into your positioning. So with that being said, another possible evidence on the macro is that we do have higher lows being established right here. As you can see, we have multiple higher lows being established, and XRP is actually one of those few coins that have established higher lows for the past 8 or 9 years or so, ever since this low has been created here back in 2017. With all these wild swings in between, it's eventually creating a larger range on the macro. Even though it may seem extreme on the shorter time frames, the larger picture is still being created, and we may be working for that larger fifth wave to the upside. And like I've said, I believe that we're most likely in this wave 4, and with utilizing all of the narrowed down patterns, this is where we're currently at, and that is where the money is, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of the people may be accumulating, and that is where this wave 4 comes in especially handy, is that it's a consolidating pattern in nature, and that's exactly what we're looking for here, ladies and gentlemen. We're looking for a sideways movement. So with this breakout, if this were to break out, again, we do have invalidations of the patterns, which is very fortunate with the Elliott Wave Theory as well. We can work with invalidations. We have soft invalidation levels and major invalidation levels as well. So the entire invalidation of the triangle, without going too deep into the pattern, is that if the preceding wave creates a low, then that low is going to be your invalidation level. So with this wave E being established, technically we can still be in a wave E if we do move down one more time. However, the complete invalidation of this triangle is going to be this previous wave C, and at that point, you know that it might be developing into something possibly different, which could be possibly a bearish pattern, which again also exists as well. This could be a wave A in itself, and this could be the beginning of the A, B, C, D, E, which is the bearish triangle, and that could be part of an A, B, or WXY, and that could be working for one more leg to the downside. So that is how we're going to see the macro. That's why I still believe that there is a huge phenomenal possible move to the upside. And we're talking not even a 5x gain, but possibly a 10x gain, possibly going into the $10 regions. Now, this is all in combination with the favorability of the community backing as well, as you can see from our second checklist. This is where I have also faith in, because XRP has one of the biggest communities, and it also has one of the most faithful communities for the coin. Now, you don't want to marry a coin just based on the fundamentals alone, but it does have a strong favorability, and a lot of the price action that has been observed in this current past year or two has been shown within the Elliott Wave Theory as well, where we created a wild volatility range, but we've also been able to secure protected bottoms and tops. So with that being said, a lot of this move here, with the favorability of the SEC case, we've had a lot of FUD and FOMO happening in between, and we've also been able to secure these bottoms, and that's the most important thing, especially with the strongest of the fundamentals also playing against XRP or Ripple. For example, the Luna crisis, that was a complete 180 degree, and it just completely went to its death, right? However, with XRP, especially with the delisting of the coin, a lot of people still have faith in this coin, and that's why we created this range bound, and that's why I believe we may be in a possible move to the upside. So that's how I'm currently seeing XRP, ladies and gentlemen. If we zoom in into the shorter time frames, now this is going to get a little bit more complex, but it is what it is. I think that we may be in a possible 1-2 again. If we're looking at the triangle, that ABC is that last part of that wave E. So if we go back here, if we're looking at the triangle in itself, that wave E has already completed here as an ABC, and that's what you're seeing on the shorter time frames. And right now, what's going to be the next possible move is the continuation of a 5-wave impulse to the upside. Now, you're going to work with hierarchy of degrees. That's another topic in itself. But right now, we're looking for the first signs of an impulse to the upside, which is going to be the first wave 1 of a lower degree, and then you're going to look for the respective 5-wave degrees to complete a higher degree, and that's how we create these 5s and 3s in between, and that's why this is going to be possibly a move to the upside as well in the shorter time frames. With that being said, just very simply put, I believe this 1-2 could be pretty much technically complete with the current sentiment and technicals just aligning. It's not the best looking structure because XRP, it's very, very cumbersome to count on the shorter time frames. But what we have right now is possibly 5 waves up for a wave 1. We do have a possible ABC running flat that's not complete. This move here could be a diagonal itself where the C wave has truncated. We were expecting a move to break this low here, possibly creating another range to breaking this low here, creating this move here. But with Bitcoin's current move to the upside, that's how we got this breakout of this current range right here. Now we're just meeting this small expectation of a resistance, and we'll just see how this follows up, ladies and gentlemen. This can still technically be being created for a range. We could be creating some kind of complex correction once more. We'll have to see, but it is going to be still bullish above this line here because that is the bottom of where we are expecting that wave E to be completed. And from there, we'll just have to see if this breaks here. We're still in a technical larger wave E until we actually break that previous bottom, like I've said, of this wave C of the previous wave. As you can see here, as I've already told you, the wave C is going to be the preceding wave of the invalidation level, invalidation of the entire triangle. So we could still technically be creating some kind of complex correction. We'll have to see. But whatever delays that happen, I still do believe that XRP is possibly going to be going to the $10 range. So we'll have to see. I'll keep you guys updated with this coin as much as I can, but for now, it's possibly a sleeping beauty, or it's the calm before the storm, as what they say, right? So hopefully that was helpful, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We have Patreon as well, where I do weekly updates every Wednesday and Fridays. If you're interested in joining the Discord membership for a small fee, it's also in the link. The link is also in the description below. If you're not following me on social media on X, I do a lot of daily updates there as well, including sentiment at XForceGlobal. Please do give me a follow there. We have over 20,000 followers right now as well. Shout out to everyone who's been supporting me. And that's about it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a fantastic rest of the weekend. Bye-bye.